Yeah, this one can go one or two ways.
I want some nasty. Are we having fun yet?
Alright, so I'm not expecting this to be a very long video because I really can just kind of get to the point when it comes to Malaki Branham. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and look at where he's going to land in the draft. More than likely, he's going to be somewhere between 16 and 25. That's kind of where I've seen him. That's the range that I've seen him. And I think that that's pretty accurate. When I watch his game and see what type of player he is, it makes complete sense. So just jumping into the stats, and then I'm going to tell you how I feel about him, what type of player he is, and then I'm going to look at the pros and cons, and we'll see if we agree or disagree with any of those. So first and foremost, stats. 13.7 points, 3.6 rebounds, 2 assists per game at almost 50% field goal percentage. As I stated, he's a guard, or maybe I didn't state that. He's a guard out of Ohio State, freshman, 6'5", 180 pounds. And if you just look at his stats, you will see that this is some really efficient scoring. Now, there's one thing that does stand out that's not that great, but even in the long scheme of things, the big scheme of things, it was still pretty decent. So the thing that stood out to me was that he didn't take a lot, or at least he took three-pointers, but it didn't look that great. Like, oftentimes it seems as if some games he would take quite a few, and other games he would completely back off. And that's a point of emphasis that we're going to have to talk about. But scrolling down, as you can see, his percentages are pretty doggone good. I mean, 50% field goal percentage, 41, basically almost 42% from three. And one thing that's very promising is his free throw percentage at 43%, or 83%. I'm sorry, 43. Oh my gosh, 83%. So he is a very good scorer. So if you're asking me, what is he? He is a mid-range specialist. That's what he does. That's his bread and butter. He is a mid-range specialist. Now, as far as athleticism, I'll be completely honest and completely transparent. He's not very quick. He's not very fast, but he understands that, and I think he knows his body pretty well. He has a lot of upper body strength, which is good, but it's pretty apparent that his lower body strength might not necessarily be there. But with that being said, he knows his body. He understands his body, and he doesn't necessarily try to do too much. He understands that he's not a very quick player, but he can stop on a dime as far as his mid-range shots. So overall, I really like his game because now that he knows that he's not very fast, so what he typically does is he becomes a little bit more methodical with the ball in his hands. He tries not to do too much, but he knows his spots and he can get to those spots. He can go right, he can go left, but his bread and butter is that mid-range. Now, the thing that scares me about that, which I know it's a weird concern, okay, and he's super young, so I guess it wouldn't matter too much, but one thing that scares me about that is that it seems that he goes away from the three-point line, and that really reminds me of DeMar DeRozan. Now, DeMar DeRozan hasn't done this his entire career, but I do recall DeMar DeRozan oftentimes passing up three-point shots. And it's very strange because if you look at his touch on the ball, he can shoot like crazy. But when he gets around that three-point line, I don't know if his form changes or he puts a little too less on the ball. And sometimes it's like way too much. But overall, it's just like, I don't know. But with that being said, if you're just trying to see what type of player he is, you can sum it up to this. Mid-range specialist. He can get to the basket somewhat, okay? He has some certain moments where it's like, wow, that was a really nice dunk or a nice finish. And it does happen, but that's what he is. Now, I didn't even touch on defense. I didn't even touch on it because his defense is not good whatsoever. I do not find him as a good defender on or off ball. Oftentimes, it's not that his head is necessarily not in it. He's just not quick enough to be a really good defender. It seems like guys can kind of get around him pretty quickly, and him being a guard, that's not going to work in the NBA. So I don't know what he'll need to do. Maybe just build on that lower body strength. But right now, as it stands, he is not a great defender. So what he is a mid-range specialist, and that's his bread and butter. So let's go ahead and look at his pros and cons and see what they have to say and see if I agree with any of it. So pros: solid shoot, yes. Solid score off the dribble, yes. Excels his scoring on off-ball motion plays. Okay. Adequate playmaker. Yeah, sure. Decent rebounder for his size. That's something we did not talk about. But his rebounding is 3.6. And sure, I don't know. Another thing that's strange about him is he's 6'5", but if you watch him, he doesn't look 6'5". He looks much bigger than 6'5". Moving on. Let's see. So we have a solid athlete. Now he's an okay athlete. Reluctant to take three. Oh. Well, there you go. Lacks an elite first step off the dribble. I think that comes down to that quickness too. Not an elite ball handler. Can be turnover prone. Yeah, somewhat. All right. Unselfish to a fault. Needs to improve his defense. His defense is not good. There you go. Needs to add strength. And I would add strength to his lower body. I think that's where he needs to add it. Malaki Branham is an athletic, skilled swingman that can shoot and score the basketball. He will need to trust his three-point shot more and take them far more in games. And he will need to improve his defense, but he is a talented prospect that currently projects to go in the mid-first round to second round. Oh, and one thing I want to say too is he doesn't necessarily, and this ain't a terrible thing, okay? But he doesn't necessarily create a ton of space. Now, don't get me wrong, he can shoot over his opponents at times. He can cross you over every now and then, but he just doesn't create a ton of space, which is fine. He's such a good mid-range scorer till it is what it is. But I just think that that's at least worth being said. So you guys let me know what you think of him. That was just my overall thoughts. I'm sorry, my brain is kind of scattered, so sometimes I can't like articulate things, especially while I'm sick, because I'm still getting over a cold. But anyways, I'll see what you guys later. You want to support the channel, only $2 a month. Until next time.